Happy Monday, everyone.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, everyone.
So we have today Peter Banifaz on our pod. He is an Iranian actor, comedian out of LA. He was born as Payam. How do you say Payam or Payam? I always mess that up. Payam Banifaz in Tehran, and he immigrated to the U.S. with his family when he was 8 years old. Some of his credits are a recurring role on Shameless, as well as Veep, Silicon Valley, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and many others. And he has an MBA from California Lutheran University. Peter, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you very much.
Peter.
Welcome,
So
Peter.
first and foremost, to keep up with the Monday news, what have you picked for us today?
I picked the quintessential Iranian drink, tea. I'm not drinking the quintessential Iranian tea myself. Mine is
this is commercialized.
I was a corporate sellout today.
It's all right.
In my defense, I was in a hurry and I had to go to the drive-through. But tea, without a doubt, one of my favorite beverages. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. Cheers to that.
Noosh, everyone.
I got the authentic Persian tea, by the way.
So Peter, in a nutshell, in one word or less, who are you?
Okay. A man.
That's 2 words.
Oh, man. Boy. Like you said, I'm an actor, Iranian American. I came here with my family in 1989. We lived in Tehran, and so when I was born right after the revolution, and then right before the Iran-Iraq war. So that was the main reason we left Iran, because the war just got so bad.
As many people did.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. And we kind of got forced to leave at that point. And then what happened is we basically had this very typical Iranian sort of diaspora story. We went from Iran to Turkey, and then from Turkey to England to get a visa to the U.S.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Finally came to the U.S. And of course we went
Right to L.A.
To L.A. Yes, right to L.A.
Right to
the second Mecca.
We came to Erangeles, Tehrangeles. But basically my family spent so much of the resources just to come here. So when we finally got here, we were just kind of like dirt poor. And so it was kind of a culture shock when I came here, and it was not the way I thought it was going to be.
What did you think it was going to be?
I was an idiot. I literally thought it was like streets were paved with gold. And there's like movie stars on every block.
So I don't mean to cut you off, but what's funny is that friends of mine who migrated from Colombia when they were around that 8, 9, 10-year-old age, they thought they were going to come here and see like the Jetsons.
Right. Oh, wow. I mean, I was almost on that level in terms of just like the awe I had in my mind of like what it is to be in the U.S. And when we first got here, it was just not what I thought it was at all. I didn't realize that we're poor. It was the first time my family had been poor. So It's like I kind of didn't understand it at first. But then it's one of those things you'll easily get the hang of it.
You have to adapt to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And then just pretty much, I grew up out here. So
did you learn English in your time in London before you came to America?
I learned English in London, yes. And we lived in North London. So when I got here, I kind of had this like North London accent.
And you knew proper English.
Yeah. Well, I kind of talk like, hello, everybody. So it wasn't like, I guess not proper English. But when I came out here, everybody in my neighborhood was either Mexican or Salvadorian. So It was, I had never met a Hispanic or Latino person in my life. I had heard about them, most of them had never met an Iranian. And so it was a really interesting
But I've always been confused for one another by other people.
Yeah.
What do you say? What do you say?
They've always been confused with one another from Americans.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. We both get we're similar enough to have a lot in common in terms of like how Americans treat us, but there's still differences where we can learn from each other. What made me connect with Hispanic and Latino people real well was because our cultures are very similar in a lot of ways. And
they are very familial, very, food oriented.
And when you hear a lot of immigrant stories, sorry to cut you off, a lot of immigrants, when they talk about their journey coming to the US, they always say, my friends in middle school and high school, none of them were actually American. They were either Turkish or Spanish or Mexican or Indian or something, other cultures outside of the US. You mesh
Absolutely.
better together. Even I, same way. I was born and raised here, but I find because our cultures are a little similar here and there, you kind of mesh better with those people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for me, it was like, I guess it comes down to, I wasn't familiar with what they were, but I knew they weren't white. They weren't familiar with what I was, but they knew I wasn't white. And they knew that we had in connection.
There was some like mutual agreement there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like, we don't have to be afraid of each other. Let's learn from each other. And I was lucky enough to just grew up around a very diverse group of people, everything from Filipino and Black folks and like I said, Hispanic, Latino. I actually didn't really meet any Iranians until I was like late in high school.
Oh, wow.
Really? In LA?
In LA? Yeah.
I mean, I had met them, but I didn't really have I didn't hang out with them. I didn't really have any Iranian friends, which...
Were they too snobby for you?
No, I just didn't have them around me, to be honest. I just like...
So they were too snobby for you.
I think maybe they were too rich for me, to be honest. Like we just didn't live in the same part of town.
One and the same.
Yeah, I guess. We just didn't live in the same part of town. But when I did start becoming friends with Iranians, what I did like was like, oh wow, now it's like we absolutely share a common culture. It's like speaking to them in Farsi, making jokes. That was really cool. So it was nice to have that experience too, because I had never experienced that until I went to like the last high school I graduated from. I kind of bounced around high schools a little bit. Unfortunately, I got trouble when I was like young. So, but once I got my act together and I graduated from that
were you a regular in detention?
Yeah, I think you could definitely say that.
And how did that go over with your Persian mom and Baba? That's what
it's over. His life's over.
Growing up was tough. Yeah.
The damn party.
Oh man.
So I'm gonna guess that there was a belt involved at some point. The way he's making this seem like.
No belts involved, but my dad's foot on my ass was involved a bunch of times. My dad had perfect aim on my ass with his foot, and it
was probably years of practice.
Years of practice, years of his dad doing it to him. But you know what the thing is, I couldn't blame them, because if they were, thank God for how they were. They showed me a great combination of discipline and love, and I got sidetracked, but never to the point of some of the people that I grew up, unfortunately.
Right, yeah. It's. And I get it, because, I didn't get in trouble a lot as a kid, but it's tough for our immigrant parents to understand what we went through.
Absolutely.
Going up in grade school as the different kid, right?
Absolutely.
Because us in South Florida, there's a large Hispanic community, just like there is in Southern California. So there's relatable things between those different, Hispanic cultures, depending on where they're from. But for us, since we're so, I guess, rare, so to speak, it was tougher for our parents to understand what we're going through.
But also
based on everyone else.
They were going through it themselves too. Because you can imagine them leaving their
and the work environment and
coming
and
to
all
a
that
completely
stuff.
different environment. But we're like in betweens. We never really know where we belong, right? We're either on the American side or on the Iranian side, two completely different cultures, and sometimes you feel like you're stuck.
Right. But luckily for us, we knew the language growing up. That was our first language. So we had a little fairly easier time than them adjusting. That was the hardest part for them. It was just being able to communicate with anybody to get their point across.
Absolutely. I experienced that firsthand, because when I first went to England, I didn't know a word of English, and I literally didn't know how to say I need to go to the bathroom. So I would pee in my pants, which is something I continue to this day. No, I'm kidding. But no, I
Episode of Best of Us, man.
There's adult diapers for that.
Nice. No, but so obviously that happened just a couple of times, but like it was sort of like looking back, it was just very difficult. I knew the word yes and no, and they don't prepare you for anything. So when you go in there, it's like I literally had to learn from scratch. And coming here, English in England is very different than English here. Mm-hmm. The words, the stylings, the things that are funny. So I had to kind of relearn it. But luckily, I had my homies in my neighborhood who really taught me everything and made me.
They taught you the street.
I mean, yeah, because I was just like little.
Hold on, would you consider yourself street smart?
I certainly would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I certainly would.
Okay.
I was lucky enough to be around the people who kind of, as we say, put me on game, but I never strayed too far away from who I was, my family, and what the ideals I had been raised with.
Right.
A lot of people in my neighborhood, they didn't have dads, or they didn't have like families like mine. So they kind of got led astray that way, and it really wasn't their own fault. So I was just lucky. had a support that a lot of people I know unfortunately just didn't have. So it was I was very fortunate because of that. But certainly I learned, I was just like innocent, sort of sheltered kid coming here. I had to kind of learn the hard way, but at least they taught me, and they showed me enough love and respect to teach me.
You for a whole world.
Right. And to bring me into their culture, bring me into their homes. So I used to be kicking it with the homies, and like I go to their house and I didn't speak a word of Spanish. Their grandmas didn't speak a word of mostly English or Farsi, obviously. So it's like,
perfect.
But they come in, give me food, and it's like, give me hugs, and it's like that stuff is universal. So I was
and that's the similarities in culture.
Right.
Food and music are two things you can bond over and have, universal language no matter what.
Absolutely.
You don't speak Spanish, they don't speak Farsi, but there's food.
Yes. Well said. Food and music.
Peter, you said that you were just born right after the revolution and before the Iran and Iraq war. So I just wanted to see, like, your perspective on things. Like, Americans here, we take a lot of things for granted. And one of those things is being, our freedom, to peacefully go out, go to a park, go to the beach or whatever. And for you, growing up at an early age, all you knew was war, 24/7 surrounding you. So I want to see, how you can speak on how that experience was for you and kind of things you learned now being in America, in a calmer time.
Well, you certainly, in this country, we have a lot of like, oh, this country's doing this particular bad thing. Let's bomb them. Let's attack them. People in this country, luckily for them, they've never seen the other side of it. But unfortunately, I saw the other side of it. And like I say, war is hell. When
nobody wins.
No, nobody wins, especially the people on the street. I mean, we were literally at some point, almost 5 nights a week, we were spending in a cellar in our apartment complex with 200 other people, bombs literally dropping above us. You don't know when it's going to drop on you.
Right.
You can hear it. So it's like when I went to England, I was having all these nightmares and like just sort of like I was constantly stuck to my mom. Like I wouldn't even let her go to the bathroom without me like trying to come inside because I couldn't be away from her. She took me to the dog. The dog's like, he has PTSD.
Yeah, it's the trauma after.
That's traumatic. Oh.
Luckily, I was a child, and your body can, your psyche can sort of reshape itself quicker. Exactly. And I was able to do that. But
good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was very lucky. That's all because of my mom. She was open-minded at the time to take me to a child psychiatrist to sort of work on that. And I'm happy about that because in our culture
is so
very important. Right.
Because exactly, in our culture, that's still
a stigma. It's taboo.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I would say to anybody, war is absolute hell. You take 4th of July fireworks and you add like 1,000 to that. And that's what it feels like to be next to bombs dropping. And then you have zero control over it. And then as a child, your dad or your mom can protect you from anything. But you're not dumb enough to think they can protect your ass from bombs. I remember when my dad literally would try to lie and say they're firecrackers. And I was 4 years old and I knew damn well they weren't firecrackers.
Yeah, at that point, you already knew what's what.
Exactly.
You see the carnage.
You see
it's all over the news, yeah.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
My dad's, I see my dad's hand shaking. It's like, I'm not stupid. Children aren't stupid. They can feel it, and I think that's what that was.
And they're terrified of it themselves because nobody knows what's going to happen, right? Nobody knows where the bombs are going to be dropped. So imagine the fear that they have, and then they have to try to protect their kids from the fear because you're 4 years old, right? You don't know what's happening. It's terrifying. And they have to step into that role as well. So I couldn't even imagine how hard that was.
It was. I'm sure it was very. I can't even imagine for my parents. My mom once told me, she's like, we spent so much of when you were young just pretending everything is okay, pretending we're not constantly scared. So I think even though coming here was very difficult, it was a real rough road for my family personally. It's the greatest thing we've ever done as a family is to come to this country. And it's like one thing that people don't understand. The people who are so anti-immigrants and so pro-Trump don't understand is immigrants, we are the most patriotic people because we had to go through shit to come here, or families had to go through shit to come here. So we have a level of
respect for this land.
Respect, a level
appreciation.
What was that line in Shawshank Redemption? Literally climbed through a pile of shit to come out clean on the other side.
Right, yeah. I mean... And that goes for anybody, whether you're coming in from Mexico, from El Salvador, whether you're coming from China, Iran, like you're going through that crap. You're going through that mess, especially if you're not rich. So it's like, I wish people would understand. It's like, it's tough. I'm a proud American. We're all proud Americans. We're proud Iranians and we're proud Americans. And I wish more people could see that. and understanding.
Yeah, and then we just have to remember our roots, and that hopefully that keeps us grounded a little bit, so we don't get away from what we went through, what our parents went through, getting here and being here.
And what makes us unique, and what makes our culture unique, and sort of spreading that to the next generation. Not to get too cliche, but
definitely, definitely.
All right, so let's get into kind of the next phase of your life. So how did you get into acting, right? Because you have some roles on Shameless and Veep and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I think it was. So was this always something that you were passionate for since you were little, or it's something that you kind of grew into liking as you were growing up?
I think ever since I was a little boy, I wanted to perform, and I don't really know why. I just do remember ever since I was like literally as early as I can remember a memory, I liked performing in front of family, messing around in front of family, them laughing. I loved watching movies, fantasizing about movies. It was for many years that I thought this is just kind of what everybody does. It's a fantasy for everybody. And like these kind of things could never happen for someone like me. So I shouldn't even bother thinking about it. I went to college. I was going to go to law school. My parents wanted me to go to law school. They weren't pushing me to law school, but they were certainly pushing me to have some type of
You were doing one of the 3 pre-approved degrees.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
There was a lot of nudging,
Oh,
lawyer.
definitely. More than a little nudging. Yeah. It was very clear. Like, this is one, you just make a choice.
So which law school, engineering school, or med school do you want to go to when you grow up? That was the question.
Right. It's like, son, you could be anything you want. Just tell me, what kind of doctor do you want to be? I went to college. It got to a point, I think around 2006, where I was like, man, I just can't do this anymore. I can't go one more day without at least trying to see if I can even do this. Let me see. Maybe I suck, and maybe then I'll never worry about it again. But I can't picture being 45 and maybe hopefully being successful in something else and going and saying, I wasted my life. I wasted my life because of my parents. And somebody once told me, it's like, you love your parents, one day they won't be here. And you're going to be stuck with the decisions you made for them and not yourself. And then what do you have? Nothing. So it's like, I had to make that decision. I had to ask myself, like, okay, this shit's going to be hard, especially for me. There's no precedence of like Iranians and Middle Easterns really making it happen in this business. So I had to ask myself, okay, am I willing to be honest with myself? Am I willing to, whenever I see that I don't have what it takes for this, am I willing to quit and save my life? But before that, am I willing to sacrifice everything I have to sacrifice? And the answer to both of those were yes. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to try to do this. So the first thing I did was take an acting class at UCLA Extension, just to see, do I even have what it takes to potentially? And
yeah, because if you suck, then okay, at least I tried.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Because this business is hard. This is one of the few things harder than this business, I think. And it's like, if you don't have the work ethic and the talent, you have literally nothing. You are just burning your life away.
Well, I mean, you even look at what's his name that played Aladdin in the new Aladdin movie, Mena Massoud. He was talking about how he's not able to book any gigs, and that was a fantastic film, and he played great in that.
Solid actor, good-looking dude. Look at how much problems he's still having. But a lot of that is because of his ethnicity. Because the fact of the matter is, Hollywood wants to pretend how diverse and how it loves diversity now. But
because Naomi Scott is getting a bunch of roles,
right? But I mean, but the fact of the matter is, nobody gives a fuck about Middle Easterns still.
Yeah,
nobody.
True that.
When you look at a survey, when someone asks you for a survey and they want to ask your ethnicity, there's no Middle Eastern there. Every other fucking ethnicity under the sun is there except what? Us. And then we have to what? Go white, non-Hispanic. We're not white. We're everyone, but we're not white. Aryan and white are completely different things. But anyway, that's a whole nother story on if you have.
Didn't we talk about that with
part 2?
We did. I feel like we've talked about that often because that's something that bothers us as well. Like whenever I fill out those surveys, it aggravates me when I have to click the white box because I might look white, but I am Middle Eastern Iranian, and it nothing aggravates me more than that when I see that.
Right. So, absolutely. Or if you're North African, or if you're from Pakistan even, or if you're from Egypt, but yeah, so to go back to your question, it was around that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I took the acting class. I had a very, very, very kind teacher who was very positive with me. And she really kind of was like the one that said, hey, I think you can do this. Keep at it. And that was all I needed. My dad, on the other hand, when I first told him, Dad, I think I changed my mind. This is what I'm going to do. He's like, I think you lost your mind. He's like, I think you lost your mind. Yeah.
Oh my God.
He said it very calmly. That's how I knew how upset he was. That he was so upset and disappointed that he couldn't even yell. He was just like, I think you've gone crazy. He's like, And he basically just said, he's flat out, he's like, you're going to fail. You're going to fail.
Wow.
And I didn't take that. I never took that as anything more than him caring. I never looked at it as like, oh, you don't believe in me. I said, it's okay if you don't believe in me. I'll make you believe in me.
Yeah. Make you push you even that harder.
Gives you more fuel.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because I was like,
I mean,
it
gave you more fuel and not that you wanted to like rub it in his face and prove him wrong, but
you kind of did want to.
Probably kind of did.
I wanted to put his mind at ease. That's what I really wanted to do. Because I knew where that anger was coming. That disappointment was coming from fear.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to just put his mind at ease. Mm-hmm. But I knew my dad. And most of our dads are they're results oriented. The journey is not as important to them as like, what have you got now? So once I was able to make a living and, get myself the condo and live my life and put away money for retirement and just actually be able to self-sustain and make a living, then he was like, oh.
So did you just get the MBA just to satisfy him?
Yes, absolutely. I got the NBA to satisfy. I said NBA. Sorry. I joined the NBA to satisfy my dad.
You did.
No,
yeah, you did.
I got the MBA to satisfy my dad's, maybe satisfy my mom, maybe satisfy my own fear in the back of my head that what if I need something else? But halfway through my MBA, I was like, no, I cannot have a plan B. For what I'm trying to do, there cannot be plan B. It's either succeed or die. There's no other way. But I still finished it because I had gotten the loan, and then I'm still proud of myself that I accomplished something for myself, a higher education for myself, and an understanding of money value for myself. But that's where it lies,
Was there a specific moment that you remember where in your mind you were like, okay, like this is it, you proved to your dad that you can do this, and he kind of expressed that he was proud of you? Because Persian parents, they're not so good with the whole emotional aspect. They'll be like, I'm so proud of you, son. They're always like, you could do more, like that's not enough. Right. So was there a specific moment where he expressed that, or you felt like he really truly believed that you could do this?
I think a couple of different stuff, because and I knew it would take more than just a couple of things for my dad to be like, oh, okay. I had booked a State Farm commercial that luckily ran for a long time. It was supposed to run for 13 weeks. That's a regular commercial cycle, and ended up running for 2 years almost.
Wow.
And luckily I did really well from that, luckily. And I showed him just one of the checks from it. And that was he's like, oh, now I understand. Now I understand why it's so competitive. He's like, oh, I understand why your ass busts your motherfucking ass for free for so long, because when it finally comes in, it can come in big. Mm-hmm. And then I was lucky enough to, I recurred for 3 seasons on the show Shameless.
We're going to get to Shameless.
We're going to get to that.
No, I was lucky enough. I got on, actually, I was supposed to just do 2 episodes, and I ended up doing, I believe, about 14 episodes. And I think like once they told me after the first season I was there, they were bringing me back for the second season. I told my dad that was another, like, it's like, oh, okay. So now his support really feels unconditional, and at least he understands the nature of my business, and he understands that there's ups and downs, and there's non-guarantees, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah,
but he knows.
Going back to that Mena Massoud point, is that Rockstar character he played, and the next role isn't guaranteed.
No, right. Nothing is guaranteed. Yeah,
and have you watched the show Entourage?
I have. Yeah.
Is that kind of how it is, as far as like you fall off for a little bit, then you just got to figure out a way to get back on your feet?
I would say that like in that show, at that guy's level, like an A-list actor, they probably experience a little bit a different life than sort of somebody like an actor like me who's like still coming up.
Yeah, you're right now still doing a role of a supporting role, right?
Supporting roles, and luckily I have things in the work, but Vinny Chase is a household name, so once you become a household name, business is different, because even if you fall off, you use previous sort of like equity that you have of your business
it's
to
still
do
worth something.
Mm-hmm.
For me right now, it's still a little bit more of a hustle. Like you don't book, you don't eat. An aspect of that I love, but an aspect of that you grow weary of, obviously. Luckily, I'm getting to a point where that's becoming less and less, and it's getting easier. But I also love that part of the game too. So like sometimes it's exhilarating. I guess it's a sort of a mixed bag.
Do you manage yourself, or do you have an agent?
I have an agent and a manager. I have a commercial agent, and then a film and TV agent, and then a manager that sort of helps me manage my career.
So you have an Ari Gold and a Pizza Boy, right?
And a Pizza Boy, is that what you said?
Remember what's his name? His buddy.
Oh yes,
Shameless.
yes. Well, I mean my agents and manager, like, they're just fantastic. I would say they have the mind of an Ari Gold, but like a heart of gold. They're not like him. They're all just they're hustlers.
No, but Ari
and, you know,
meant well.
He meant well, but he was like he treated
Scummy.
people kind of like crap.
Armin, you would love his character.
I need to watch this show. Arash has been telling me for months now.
Entourage. I will say this though. So it's a show that probably doesn't hold up as much now because times are a little different. Like,
but okay, that statement right there, I think that's the reason it has to hold up, is because you're taking a snapshot of what it was like in that world at a certain time.
Or at least, even if not in that world, what was funny to people at the time, what was interesting to people at the time, what people wanted to watch. And you're right, that does sort of give you...
It's like going back to the Sopranos example. Yes, they were absolutely racist and sexist and all the ists you can find and all
that's how everyone was that.
That's what they are. That's what makes it authentic.
But that stuff would never fly nowadays, though. But yeah, that's what makes it unique, because you don't see any of that anymore.
You know, I think the thing with Entourage, and not to get too sidetracked on that, but like, I think what Entourage did is it sort of glamorized a little bit of the sort of like I would say like the toxic sort of bro sort of behavior of young men, and sort of like it's all about chasing babes and like so I think that we've culturally shifted a little bit away from that. But certainly at the time it was hugely popular. Nobody was complaining about that stuff at the time. But I think one good thing in what's happening in our society is like we're looking, hindsight is 2020. We're all looking back and seeing like, oh, like the things that were acceptable then aren't acceptable now, and for the right reasons. Not that it was a horrible show, or it was like, I just mean like, it wasn't that long ago, but you can see clearly what a shift we've done culturally.
Cultural shift for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But I love The Sopranos, man. It's truly still my favorite show. I think best written show of all time.
Okay, gotta watch.
Yes, I've seen it 3 times, as I said on every episode.
He loves it. That's his favorite.
I've watched it twice, and I've watched it literally a year ago, all of it, and it still holds up because in the end of the day, the writing and the acting is just supreme. For TV, it changed TV. It changed TV forever because it was okay for a long.
See, I'm not the only one that says that.
Yes, I see.
Oh yeah,
because for so long it was okay to have subpar acting and subpar writing on TV, because you were like, hey, you want to see great writing, great acting? For the most part, go out watch a movie.
Watch a movie.
That was one of the shows in the history of shows that literally said no. Why can't shows be more cinematic? Not only the way they shot, but also the way they're written, the way they're acted, directed, the way they're presented. So as you can I get very passionate talking about that show because it's just like, it's dope as fuck.
That's
Peter,
good,
you and I will have a one-on-one conversation about our favorite shows on another episode. How about we do that like at another time?
But it'd be my honor, my brother. Absolutely.
Like a back and forth. Okay, let's shift back on track.
Sure.
All right, so still about your acting, do you remember, I'm sure you do, your first role? Was it the State Farm commercial or something else? And then any crazy or funny stories you remember from it?
My first role, the first thing I ever did that I booked that was actual, I got paid for, was there was a show called 1,000 Ways to Die. It was on Spike TV.
I've heard of the show.
It was this awful show where it's just basically like they would just reenact different ways people die and what would happen. And I
think I saw an episode or 2 of that.
Yeah, I think I've seen that too, actually.
It's from like 10 years ago or something.
Yeah.
I played Middle Eastern scientist who's like enriching uranium and dies of uranium poisoning. Yeah. So, of course, my first role was a non-union job that paid me $100 for 10 hours of work, and I played a terrorist. But my first real job that I was really excited about was a commercial I did for Boost Mobile. A crazy thing that happened is I have a big fear of heights. And in that, what do you call those? I think they call them gondolas or some weird thing like that, where it's like those on the big skyscrapers, the people who clean the windows, they're on those like crane things. Gondolas, okay.
Called gondolas.
So I had to go up 12
Of
stories.
course, the engineer
for this scene. I had to go up 12 stories for that, just for this one shot of me cleaning a window. And
so you actually did it?
Yeah, and they didn't tell me how
it wasn't. It wasn't Hollywood magic.
Absolutely not.
Oh my god!
Unfortunately, and it was one of the scariest experiences of my life. Like experiences, like the expression, like your knees were knocking. I'd never understood like what that meant until I was up there, and literally I was shaking so hard that my knees were hitting each other, and inside the both of them was like kabut, as we say, like it was like
bruised up.
These bruised up. It was terrifying, and my biggest fear was that I had told them that I wasn't scared, because they specifically asked. So I was like, please God, don't let this camera catch me that I'm about to literally cry. And we came down, and then I was like, how's it look? How's it look? Like, oh, it looks great. It was like, everything's fine. And we moved on, and I was just like, man, I'm never doing that again.
Was it a windy day?
It was not a windy day, but it was.
The higher you go, there's more wind.
There was more, you know what? There was more wind. And another thing is those effing gondolas, I don't know why they make them the way they make them, but
they swing.
They swing very hard. And the guy that was on there with me, he's like technician, he was sort of there for my safety, and he does this regularly. And he's like, man, I don't know how you're doing it. He's like, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I still hate windy days. And it was just
wow. And why are you telling me that?
Yeah, I mean, it was honestly a nightmare. It was a nightmare. Like, I literally had trouble sleeping that night, even though I know it was done.
So hold on. Did you use that sample to book roles after that?
Did I use that sample? It was a commercial. So, like, to get very specific, so like commercials, technically, you don't use them as samples for like TV and film work. You might use it as a sample for commercial work, I guess.
Okay, fair enough.
They're just kind of different worlds in a weird way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it certainly helped, because now I was actually a paid actor for the first time. Then the thing that I booked after that was great was I booked a small role on a show called Mom.
I love that show.
Oh no, it was a very
with Anna Faris, right?
Yes, and that was my first actual TV show I booked. It was a tiny role, but meant a lot to me at the time, and it was just a very memorable time, because it was just like the first time.
Was that on a major network?
Yeah, I forgot if it's CBS or NBC, and just like a legendary producer on that show, and it was just I was nervous as hell, but like it went great. Yeah.
Great. Oh.
Did you feel any type of pressure coming into Hollywood to change your name from your birth name to Peter? Or was that just something you did for yourself?
I did that long time ago, because I had got to a point I was just sick of white people mispronouncing my name.
Butchering it, yeah.
I don't want to hear it, man. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. It just, you know, we all have beautiful, unique names from our home country, but out here.
What was the worst way they butchered yours?
I had a fucking history teacher that kept calling me Pyman. And I would say, Mr. Hendricks, what part of P-A-Y-A-M is Pyman?
There's no N.
There is nothing. Where is the Pyman? Yeah, it's like.
First of all, you're missing an A.
Yes. It's like you're not.
And of all the teachers, the history teacher, you would think he would be a little better on.
He taught history and like he taught history and economics, but like it's just like, bro, like, how can you read these letters and say Pyman? So it's like, and then he would sing this song to me. He's like, simple Pyman met a Simon going to the fair, and it made no sense.
Oh my god!
He would crack up. Everyone in class would be like, kind of like, what the fuck? He also had narcolepsy.
Yes.
And would fall asleep in class.
Yes.
Explains everything.
Class was nice.
Yeah, that class was nuts.
And then they say, why do we need to add more money to education?
Because of this dude. And you can't even fire his ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's such a shortage of teachers, and it's like, I don't know. But, yeah. So that's the reason I changed it way before I got into Hollywood.
Okay.
What's beautiful now is little by little, what's changing is people like if you have a diverse name. They're like, oh, where are you from? It's like immediately sort of puts you in a different category of like a little bit more unique.
Right, a little exotic.
Because diversity is trendy now. If you're
diversity is trendy now.
Diversity is a new trend. So if you have a unique name or you're from somewhere that's not here, everyone thinks you're the coolest, and they suddenly are so interested.
But they're only interested, and it's still a racist thing because it's still based on the color of your skin.
Correct.
They don't care if you're black or you're Middle Eastern. They care, do you look black or Middle Eastern? Do you look like the thing they want you to look like? Oh, Middle Eastern. There's a lot of times my manager, my agents, they you know, I went for audition, they hit him up like, you know, producers loved him. They want to bring him back for something else. He just didn't have the particular look they were looking for. And when they say that, a lot of times he's too fucking light skinned to be Middle Eastern. Yeah. Because our white ass audience in Ohio, no offense to white people, they aren't going to understand that. They're going to be like, hey, that doesn't look, you know, they want to see what they think, like
what they
the Muhammad that they have
the turban.
In their head.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And luckily I've got to a point where I'm not really having to do stuff like that anymore. But even the other day I got like an offer on an audition where it's like ended up being some dude that works for the fucking Taliban. Like at first he's a nice guy and it turns out he works for the Taliban, and he sex traffics young women because they wanted to learn how to do math. And I was just like, man, you know, and my manager did, before even I got the email, my manager was like, hey, we just got a request, and just take my word for it. I think we should say no right off the bat. And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I mean, so it's still happening, and it's happening a lot on network television. It's getting better, and but it's still happening. I think that we are the least represent Middle Easterns in general are the least represented minorities on film and television right now.
And when we are, it's the stereotype.
You kind of answered a couple questions that we had on here. Yeah. So I think Arta had a question about have you ever rejected a role, and obviously that you just answered that as yes. And then, you know, Armo had a question about representation of Iranians and Middle Easterns, and we know it's lacking.
And Absolutely. Let me say and the roles that Middle Easterns do play, like for example, the show Scandal, there was a whole season just about Iran, right? And that is how Iran.
But they called it something else, but we all knew.
Correct. They called it something else, but every scenario that was happening that entire season, they had taken Kerry Washington as hostage.
Homeland had a whole season on actual Iran.
Exactly.
Yeah, Homeland.
It's all still in that negative type of portrayal, either terrorist or hostage or something negative.
Absolutely.
So we have movies like Not Without My Daughter. We have movies like House of Sand and Fog, which House of Sand and Fog was a fantastically played movie.
Right.
I'm not taking anything away from the arts from Sir Ben Kingsley,
of course,
or I forget the other actress's name in there. And then we have situations like in the movie House Guest. Remember that movie House Guest with Sinbad?
Yeah.
You know, in movies like that, sometimes there's like this Persian in LA punchline.
Right.
You know, what language do you speak in LA? Oh, it's English, Spanish, and Farsi. You know, that's what we speak there. So I guess how can we get away to have, who brought it up? Who was it, us talking with each other? How can we, you know, like Crazy Rich Asians?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Crazy Rich Asians is
go ahead.
One of the movies where you actually see representation in a positive manner about Asians in Singapore and China and all of that. You know, it was really nothing negative. That's one of my favorite movies. So, but you see, I mean, you still see their strict culture come out in the movie, and you still see some of the flaws there, which is flaws that we have in the Iranian culture also.
Absolutely.
But it was mostly a positive movie that showed Asians in a
genuine, authentic way. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
You know, it's like I call that normalizing the culture, making it like this is not supposed to be funny because they're Asian. This is supposed to be funny because it's a funny movie. They happen to be Asians.
Correct.
You know, or you know, my dream is to make a show about an Iranian family, and it's something that we're working on right now. But it's like the idea that I had from the beginning is like we want to normalize this. It's not funny because they're Iranian. It's funny because the situations are funny. They just happen to be Iranian Americans, and it's like if we can, you know, somebody called it immigration porn. It's like, we're sick of seeing immigration porn, where it's like this story about like, that sort of like, this very melodramatic, is like, son, we're going to make it in this country no matter what, like those kind of things, like Five Goes West.
I came with $3 in my pocket.
Yeah. It's
now
like,
look at where we are.
That stuff is great, but let's do stuff now where it's like, we are living in this country, we are Americans, and it's about our culture, the goods and bads of our culture, just like you said. But let us normalize it. Let the unusual thing not be that we're immigrants. The unusual thing is that, I don't know, we own a candy factory, or, that's a terrible idea. But but I just, you know what I mean? It's like, can we stop being the immigrant family that has to deal with their neighbor who spray painted something on their wall? And like, in today's episode, we deal with more racism. It's like, we know what's going on now. And I think audiences, audiences.
You want to watch a movie about racism, watch American History X, and you'll get a lot from that. You will get a lot from that movie and how it really is when it comes to black versus white racism, white versus black and non-white racism.
Absolutely.
And then I'm sure you can understand this, is that when you watch certain movies at different points in your life, it's a different movie every time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
you have more knowledge built up, and you understand some parts of it more than you did before. You have a different perspective of it every single time you watch it.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
No, I just one last thing about Crazy Rich Asians, and I just really, what I admire they did is they made their culture funny, not for the wrong reasons, for the right reasons. We were laughing with them, not
laughing with
at
them.
And so I think what they did for that,
Awkwafina was fantastic.
Oh,
she's
my
fantastic.
God, yes.
And I had the pleasure of meeting her once at this theater that I performed at for a long time, and just such an incredible, just energy, nice person. But again, just like what they did to normalize their cultures for American and global audiences is just so admirable, and I really look up to them for doing that, and I hope that we can all do that.
So I have a question for you now talking about your roles and everything. It's kind of like a two-parter. Have you ever been starstruck on set?
Starstruck on set? No. I don't know why when I don't know, maybe.
It's like, I am the star. Everyone else should be starstruck.
Well, no.
I walk past the mirror.
I walk right to the mirror and go, hello. Who is this snack? No. I think for me, it's I feel a sense of admiration, but not starstruck, only because I feel like, well, I want to get in the game with you. So if I'm
that's your competition.
You have to act like an equal almost.
Right. I want to be how like Kobe was against Jordan, where I'm sure he was in admiration, but he can't be in awe of him. I had the pleasure of working with, we worked on the same film. I did a film with the Coen brothers called Hail Caesar, and George Clooney was in that film. Yes. We didn't have any scenes together, but I was on set a bunch of times, and I got to meet him a couple of times, and I surely felt just very excited and a lot of admiration, but I wasn't starstruck. When you're there and you're on set and you're spending time with this person, this is a person just like you. We're literally doing the same job, and so it gives you a little bit more confidence. Now, I don't go up to people and start talking to them like they're my best friends, because I understand.
Yeah, you be cordial. You say hi. You talk about the film a little bit. And...
Absolutely. How you doing? And these people are always, usually the greats are always kind. So he was asking me, and interesting enough, Angelina Jolie was on the set of that film, and she wasn't even in that film, but apparently the Coen brothers were helping her write the screenplay for her film Unbreakable or Unbroken, or I forgot the name. I think Unbreakable.
I think it was Unbreakable.
Yes, and so she was on set a bunch, and one day she was there for like 8 hours, and then we spoke a little bit, and she was just so friendly. And then when she asked about my background, I told her I was Iranian, and she was so interested and like just very, very polite. No one that would give you a reason to be starstruck simply because she was so down to earth. I mean,
you've met some Hollywood heavyweights then, because my next question, and you kind of probably answered it, is that have you ever been starstruck at an event? But after meeting George Clooney and Angelina Jolie, subtle name
the A-listers.
I mean, there was so many like stars on that set. There was Channing Tatum, which my scene mainly was with Channing Tatum, and just the nicest guy. Once like star I worked with is Joaquin Phoenix. I worked with him on a film called Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot. It was directed by Gus Van Sant. Incredible guy. That was a little no, I wouldn't. Joaquin Phoenix is a little intimidating simply because he's very quiet. He doesn't talk a lot, and he feels so intense. You feel like this dude is about to either cry any second, scream, break something. He was very professional and very polite, but just he has this level of intensity where you're like, bro, I don't need to. We don't need to talk.
Is that what you would call a method actor?
I'll leave you be.
I certainly don't know what his method is. I don't know. But the thing is, everything is here. In the scene that I do with him, I'm the doctor that lets him know that, he's going to be crippled. He's going to be paraplegic for the rest of his life. And the doctor is very sort of callous and just sort of almost jokes about him. And then he starts crying, and then tears start coming out. And in that moment, live when we were doing it, I was just like, I was just really admired how the emotions were just right there. Like, he doesn't need a second, doesn't need a moment. It's right there. And I think a lot of it has to do with he's a poor guy. He's experienced a lot of pain in his life, and it's evident. You can literally see it on his face.
And that's probably why he played the Joker so well, because you're seeing his intensity and his
carried into his work,
focus.
Oh, definitely. And then he's an absolute pro. We didn't speak really. He said when the director introduced us, he said hello to me. We did the scene. We improvised a little bit, which was nice, and that's it. And for me, that's all I need. The star of the film doesn't have to be friendly to me. Nothing. Just hello, how are you? We'll do the job, and then I'll leave.
Does the director get all the actors together, kind of do like a little icebreaker between all of you when you're first meeting? Or how's
a little bit. It was just kind of like, we just did a scene. Our scene together was only 2 days. So Gus was like, come meet Peter. We met. He's like, we're going to do a scene together. Hello, how you doing? And that was it. And then the rest of the time we spoke about how we were going to do it. So it wasn't really like.
You didn't ask him what he had for breakfast.
No. I asked him, but he didn't answer. No, okay. No, but that's kind of, there's almost no time too. It's like, you just got, you got 12-hour days. Yeah.
Get it done.
I think most people think filmmaking is so glamorous because they look at the award shows and they look at the premieres and stuff, but it's really, it's a grind. You're literally there for 12 hours.
I haven't seen the movie, but the scene you're talking about was probably no more than a minute, and it took you what, 2 days?
The scene was about a minute and a half, and it took us 2 days. Wow. It's just one of them was a little bit. One of the days was like kind of a half day because they were moving on from another scene to that scene, but technically it was a 2-day shoot, as you would sort of like consider that. But yeah, it's. The scene I was in for Hail Caesar, it was a dance scene. And literally 5 minutes, we shot that fucking thing for like 16 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
There were some days I was sitting on set.
I've heard stories like that, yeah.
And everybody was great, and everyone was a pro, and everyone's nice, but that's kind of the work. And it's like I think it's Meryl Streep said it best. She's like, I don't get paid to act, I get paid to wait. Because if you're on set for 12 hours, you've only acted an hour pretty much total together.
Yeah. Getting into Shameless a little bit, just a little rapid, because I am a big Shameless fan.
Oh, nice.
I have watched Shameless from the day it came out.
Oh, right on.
I didn't binge it like from day one. I've watched it every week, every season. So I remember your character. And I actually had to go refresh my memory a little bit the other day to remember the kind of role that you played.
Mm-hmm.
Farhad, was it?
Farhad, yeah.
And you played in Iran. It's not like you played in Iranian.
Well, when I first auditioned for it, they were looking for someone who was Arabic. And then when they chose me and they told me, and I told them I was Iranian, then they changed it. But there was still certain ideals. They wanted the character to be sort of a devout Muslim, and so
they were like, "Share Sony, shit, wrong one."
So were you a fan of the show previous to going on?
I had maybe watched like a handful of episodes. I definitely had found it interesting, but I hadn't really gotten into it in that way. I got into it afterwards because I really started enjoying just working on it and watching it. But I really appreciated it, but I hadn't had a chance to really delve into it. Once I started working on it, then I kind of grew a love for the show.
So how did you get the role?
I just went and auditioned, and I got the call back, went in. The John Wells, the producer, was just an incredible talent and just a real powerhouse in the business. I went in for the callback, and I could tell the energy in the room was right. I could tell he was kind of feeling it, but you never know. They might love you and still not give you the job because you just weren't right for it.
Right.
And then they called me up and said, it's a 2-episode deal, and you got it. And I was very excited, and they just kept asking me to come back, and that's
a big deal because you changed the role from Arab.
Who played your uncle? I forget his name.
Man, I feel really bad because at this exact second I forget his name too. I'm panicking. I'm panicking and I'm going into a brain fart. But he is so fantastic. he is so fantastic, and just like we only worked together just for that episode, but he was just.
It just fits so well because you have to have a corrupt mechanic in that show, not a corrupt but an unethical mechanic.
Mechanic that's willing to bend the rules a little bit, yeah, certainly.
Yeah,
and Middle Easterns, we've kind of been notorious for being, it is what it is,
So how was it working with like Emmy Rossum, William H. Macy, and Emma Kenny? Because you have a lot of scenes with Emma, no?
Yeah, Emma's great. Emma's just absolutely wonderful actress and just such a sweet, nice person. Incredibly mature for her age. Just like one of the most mature girls I've ever met.
She's what, 20 years old now? I mean, she started that show when she was like 11.
21. She's 21, but she's just like a certified pro. I mean, she is someone that just doesn't miss a beat on set. Never messes up. Always knows her lines. Always on. I mean, she's just an absolute pro. A delight to work with. Was just so kind and supportive to me because they're a big family. So when you're coming in like that, it's
intimidating.
Right. Well, luckily I didn't feel intimidated because right off the bat they were so damn sweet and welcoming. So it's like I didn't even have time to feel that. But and Emma Rossum is incredibly nice, and again, just such a pro. And
did you have any scenes with William H. Macy?
I did not, but he did direct an episode that I was in. And he's just a wonderful man. Just
do you think, in your opinion, he's typecast now?
Well, I certainly hope not, because the guy has
I hope
such
not
an
either,
incredible
because
range.
he played great roles prior to this.
He has an incredible range. I think he'll be fine. I think he has such an incredible range, and he has such great relationships in the industry, and has just put in so much work as a writer, as an actor. I believe he's written too as a director. He's created a method of acting as well too that I think is big in I believe they teach in Chicago. I could be mistaken, but he's I'm not worried about him. I think he's
is a lot of it shot on location, or is it a lot in LA or in Hollywood?
Most of it is in LA. So we would shoot majority of it in LA, and we'd shoot a lot of exteriors in Chicago. The actual interior of the apartment is at a studio, and it's on a set in Warner Brothers.
It's on a set.
But that's always fun too.
William H. Macy, I think, is our modern day Al Bundy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, definitely. I mean, yes, I think that's a great way to put it. Sort of like the more grounded version of Al Bundy, but also
now
crazy
go watch Modern Family and pretend that's Al Bundy.
Yeah,
and
it's so
see how much funnier that gets.
So different. Yeah, so different. But William H. Macy, again, it's just one of those people that's just a joy to work with because he's so friendly, such a pro. I've been very lucky. I really haven't worked with any shitty people. I've only worked with great people.
Every story you're telling sounds like everyone.
The only shitty person was Frank Gallagher.
Frank Gallagher is a horrible person. William H. Macy, one of the greatest people I've ever worked with, definitely. But no, again, I've been very lucky. I think I've worked with a couple of crappy directors. people I didn't enjoy working with, but hey, that happens. Maybe they didn't enjoy working with me. I don't know. I hope not. But everybody also deserves to have their off days in this business.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pressure.
We're only human, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it puts a lot of and directors have a lot of pressure on them, you know, on TV and film. So, but for the most part, I've only had solid experiences. Also, I come in knowing my lines. I'm on time.
You're ready to go.
I'm not going to argue with anybody. I don't need anybody to give me special treatment. So I think hopefully my attitude on set maybe helps me.
Are you going to be in the final season?
I haven't heard anything yet. It wouldn't shock me. I think that in terms of the story, I think it's taken maybe a different turn. On top of that, with COVID going on, majority of the shows are bringing less people back for safety reasons. And also production is paying, you know, they got an increase of like 30 to 35%, maybe even 40% of costs because of
all the
COVID protocol. Yeah.
Yeah.
So because of that, they have to cut costs other places. So unfortunately that happens, but they've been so great to me and given me so many opportunities, and so many opportunities I've gotten just from being on Shameless that I'm just happy with the time I got with them.
The only reason I talked about Shameless so much is because that's the show that I know. I haven't watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you know, so love it. I'm gonna go specifically and watch your episodes now.
Nope, I'm in season.
I pulled it up last night.
Okay, great.
I will say the one scene I've seen is the one where you're running and what do you scream like Allah Akbar?
Allah Akbar, yeah.
Everyone just starts running away. That was cool.
Didn't that become like a meme or something?
Yeah, for toilet paper.
It did become a small meme. I think earlier on in the pandemic. You know, it's funny when we did that scene. I was like, man, I bet you some people are gonna fucking hate this scene. Like, they're gonna be so offended by it. But it was funny and
it's hilarious.
Shameless.
As long as that wasn't your one and only scene, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just come and do that and you're out of here.
Right. Yeah, that would be that would have been a bummer. But yeah, I mean it's you know, another thing with them is just, again, they're such a tight unit, and working with them is so easy because it's like they shoot scenes faster than
they've been together 10 years. I mean, you would imagine.
They're really a family, and they bring you in as a family too when you come work with them. And so I have nothing but incredibly positive things to say about the experience I had on that show. Yeah.
So before we get into rapid fire, let's talk about your Iranian Instagram videos. The hilarious,
the most hilarious videos,
which I will say we are all huge fans of, because you rarely see videos like that, and the topics that you touch on are so specific, like the Bubba losing his glasses, right? You don't see that on other Persian comedian content. You don't see specific topics like that. It's always the general stuff that you see everywhere, but yours are so authentic and original, and you can tell you're putting your heart and soul into the characters, which makes it so much more enjoyable to watch.
Thank you so much.
But how do you get the inspiration for these topics? And do you kind of just turn on the camera and improv, or do you plan it out and write scripts for them?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for your kind words. I really appreciate that.
Of course, it's genuine. We love them.
Thank you. No, thank you. For me, it's really how it all started is, I performed and trained at a theater and a school called the Upright Citizens Brigade, UCB, in LA for about a decade. And, I'm doing an improv show, sketch comedy. I'm doing like 4 or 5 shows a week. The theater shuts down, and now I'm not doing none of that. So it really was just like a creative outlet for me, just having some fun. I think to me, a lot of the Iranian humor I've seen on the internet is stuff that felt like it was very geared towards Iranians in Iran, or Iranians who have a very current attachment to or understanding of like how culture is in Iran specifically. And but as an American Iranian who I grew up in the US, some of that stuff was funny to me, but and some of it wasn't. So I just kind of was doing, I was like, how can I'm talking about zero representation that we really, or very limited representation that we have. I was like, how can I kind of bring in my culture a little bit, but do the comedy that I've learned how to do, that I think is funny. And that's kind of how it was. And it's like, I don't know. I don't put too much thought into them, I guess. Like, it's just like, oh, this is a funny idea. And I usually improvise it. I really love music, and I use these apps they're so easy to make music with. It makes you look like you really know what you're doing when you don't. Anybody can make great music on these.
You make great songs on there.
Thank
All
you,
of
man.
them are hits.
Thank you. They're
Sorry, I
pre-produced
love
beats. They're pre-produced beats, and basically they just, and so I will just.
It's all pre-downloaded on the app. It's pre-installed.
Yes.
Okay.
So the app is basically its own.
We have no affiliation, but
yeah, no, it's a network. So basically, you just take it off their network, and they're free. And it's like they have the names of the artists there, so that they can get their credit if you post it online. And it's like fantastic beats. And I'll just kind of like, maybe an idea will come to me, and I'll just kind of write like some silly lyrics, and then that's pretty much it. And then just, I mean, I never did it to like get viral or like stuff like that. I think with the stuff I do, it's not really like viral material anyway. It's like, it's kind of specific, and it's like you either get it or you don't. But it's just fun, and it was just a way for me to stay creative while I was waiting for auditions to come back and get back into development on the stuff I've been working on previously, but had to sort of put it on hold for a little bit because of Corona. And that's really what it was, just kind of fun. And people have been very nice, and I've been, people have been hitting me up, and they've been enjoying it. So like, that's kind of like a cherry on top, really.
How did you come up with the Mr. Isfani alter ego? Where did that come from?
I was like, man, I wanted to put something on Instagram as an Iranian character, just to make, people in my industry maybe to kind of check it out, or people, I don't know, just any way where I could put all culture out there where people can see it, to further normalize it. Obviously, I know it's like, it would be very difficult for it to get it out there to that many people, but I was like, let me kind of do my part. This is something I'm feeling passionate about. Let me do it. And I just kind of came up with an idea of, I mean, it was such a quick general thing, and I kind of just improvised it, and it sort of became its own thing. I just came up, so all right, what's a Iranian sounding fun last name? All right, that. And then I just did it. I didn't really think too much about what it's going to be, where it's going to go. And it ended up being something I enjoyed doing, and I kept doing. And then I thought it was funny having this guy that's kind of like, as we'd call it, like a fob, type guy singing songs on auto-tune or whatever. And not to make fun of someone who's quote unquote fob, because it's like, what is that? Who cares, right? But it's just funny, and I don't know.
Do you see like a character like that being on the silver screen? Like, do you envision yourself putting something like that out there?
Isfahani takes LA.
I do. I do.
Like a Mr. Bean type.
Yeah, I really do. I really do. For TV or film, I truly believe that now more than ever, the landscape is settling in for something like that. Luckily, I'm working on a project that unfortunately I can't discuss too much, but what I can say that it's sort of within line of this, and we're seeing interest before. We're seeing interest now that wasn't there before, and I truly believe the time is, if it's not here, it's coming very soon, and that's why I'm trying to really just work hard to like create something that I think would not just be funny for Iranians and Middle Easterns, but for the person living in Ohio who has no idea what an Iranian person looks like or talks like, really, or has never met one. It's something that could be for everybody. And I really think now is the time, or at the very least, it's coming.
I totally agree with that. I mean, especially with how much success and recognition the movie Parasite had, a South Korean film. I mean, it did wonders here in the United States. Usually, you didn't see any foreign films like that. So, I mean, do you probably see a future where more Iranians are coming out to write or direct, genuine or authentic stories related to Iran for American viewers?
I'm happy to say yes, definitely. Right now, there's very few of us, and there's so few of us that most of us know each other, or at least know of each other. But I think the time is coming, because you know what? Everybody in this country, let's look at LA. Everybody in LA at least knows one Iranian, or has met one, has done business with one, has some interaction with them. Look at Western Europe. In every country, we have a community of Iranians. In Canada, Australia.
Yeah.
We're all over the world.
Everywhere.
Everywhere, really, yeah.
People have been talking about Iran for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
We've been on people's lips for 40 years, not for the best of reasons, but people know who we are. And I think, and as beautiful, I think all Middle Eastern cultures are beautiful and they have something to offer. Speaking of ours, I think we have a lot to offer. Our art, we honestly, we have, I may be biased, but I've been watching a lot of Iranian films recently, and we have some of the best actors in the fucking world.
Yes.
In the fucking world.
Yes.
These people, you put them on a camera, you don't know when they're acting, and you don't know when they're themselves. Like, these people are brilliant. And
the problem is the ones in Iran, they're so boxed into what they have to be.
They can't do shit. They got to go to a government official who don't know shit about film and say, excuse me, bro, is it okay if I put this in here? And the guy's like, no. Or whatever, or pay me extra fucking 10,000 toman and you could do it. So it's like they are making gold out of turds. You know what I'm saying? That's how much respect I have for people making film in Iran, and especially women directors in Iran who are killing it. And they have to literally go through things that a man would never even have to dream of. I mean, even in this country, women, I have a lot of friends that are women directors, and they go through shit that men in this industry wouldn't even have to think about. And unfortunately, that happens all over the world. So we know that. But I just think we have a lot to offer as a culture. And if they were just to give us an opportunity to show who we are outside of this bullshit thing that the media and these right wings have been trying to talk about this for 4 decades. If they would just give us a chance to see what kind of people we are, what our culture really is, and how much we actually have in common with all of us, I think it would be something great.
We'll call it Shahs of Sunset Light.
Shahs of Sunset Light. Well, I certainly think, and no disrespect to any of them, I don't know them, and I wish them the best, but I certainly think that type of show doesn't put us in the best light.
No, it's the other side of the extreme.
Not.
It's the other side. It's just like we're all like talking fingity and fucking everything.
Do a little episode, show the Nowruz, show the Sofra half scene. Yay, we're Iranian. It absolutely sheds light on like all the wrong parts of being Iranian that need to be shown. And unfortunately, it's mainstream, and so many people think that that's what we're actually like, because we get asked that too. I'm sure you guys have too. Like, is this what Iranians are actually like? Like, no, there's so many other parts of the culture that they don't show at all.
I think we need like a decent sitcom, like something like Seinfeld or Curb Your Enthusiasm-esque, so where there's like a microscope on our lives, and you see our day-to-days, and it's like totally normal.
Absolutely.
Or like a Fresh Off the Boat, how they did for the Chinese family for Iranians.
Yes,
I think that'd be great.
I was like so upset that Nassim Pedrad didn't play an Iranian character in New Girl.
Yes, that too. She should have played an Iranian character.
She should have played in it. Even though she played her role well, she should have played an Iranian.
Yeah, I agree. But people like you are going to be the trailblazers that are going to help in that movement of kind of the next generation, showing people who Iranians really are at the core, our culture, all the good things about it and the bad things about it, because the bad things also need to be discussed.
Of course, absolutely.
So many parts of our culture that just is so outdated and needs to be changed.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, going forward, people like you through your work will shed light on that.
Inshallah.
So now
I truly hope for that. Yeah.
So now we get to the hardest part. The toughest section. One of the final sections.
Oof.
Rapid fire.
Okay, let's do it.
These are tough, heavy-hitting questions.
I'm terrified right now.
Okay, good.
As terrified as you were on the gondola?
We're 13 stories up right now.
You should be that terrified.
Really? Oh my God. Okay, then I don't know what I'm in for. But okay, let's go.
All right, here we go. Ready? Drum roll.
Absolutely.
All right,
let's do it.
What's the favorite city you've traveled to?
Paris.
Okay. Oh, yes, good answer. Who's one person you would have liked to have lunch with, dead or alive?
Tupac Shakur.
Nice.
Who is your inspiration or role model?
My big brother.
Oh. What's one thing on your bucket list?
One thing on my bucket list, be the first Iranian to headline a show on network television or cable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's do it.
When and where do you find the most inspiration?
When I see something that really inspires me, when I see something I really enjoy, an art that I really enjoy, meet someone that I really learned something from, smoking weed, those kind of things. So those.
Hey, it's legal over there, brother.
The honesty is the best.
Hey, we're in Cali, and it helps. But yeah,
That's true.
And also, talent inspires me. When I see talented people, that really inspires me. Talented in whatever do, whether it's talented doctor, talented lawyer, talented singer, all that inspires me, definitely.
Love it. Okay. One thing you would tell your teenage self.
Start early. Whatever you want to do, start early.
That's a good one.
I like that.
Don't fucking wait. Don't do it tomorrow if you can do it today. Absolutely.
Favorite American comedy and favorite Iranian comedy movie?
Favorite American comedy movie. Wow. Okay. I'm just going to go to the first one that really comes to my head. I love Naked Gun 2.5. When I first came to this country, it was just came into the theaters, and I went and saw it with my mom, and
That's great.
It was so effing funny. And but there are so many comedies that I love. This is just the first one that kind of popped in my head.
That one kind of like falls in the same category as Police Academy for me.
Oh, definitely. Okay, yeah. That's silly. Oh, and they both were around during the same time. And then
you guys should watch them. They're all on Netflix. All the Police Academies, all the Naked Guns.
Okay.
I've seen the Police Academies. It's funny.
Please watch them. What was the second part? What was
Iranian favorite.
Iranian. Okay, so this is a mini series, not a film, if that's okay.
That's
but Doijo Napolon, which is
have you guys heard of it? No.
Parvisad, isn't it? Yes, and I believe he was one of the producers, and it's basically about this coming of age story about this child and his this young boy and his family.
Are you talking about? Is there a new version that you're talking about?
No, this is still the version that's from literally from like the 60s.
Okay, from back
Iran.
in the day.
Oh, wow.
And it is truly one of the funniest, most well-written, beautifully acted Iranian pieces of cinema or television I've ever seen. It's just so beautiful. It's, I believe, in about 10 parts or something.
And,
so
and that's, I think, how Parviz Sayad, became known and went into the Samad character.
Yes, that's a Parviz Sayad joint. I believe he did a show. He did a special. It was a New Year's special years before that called Cuff Show, where he basically plays this. He plays this producer who's trying to put together this show. And man, it is so fucking great. This show, it still holds up. And whether you're American, whether I don't know where you're from, it doesn't matter where you're from. If you watch this and you can at least read subtitles and understand it, you will find it hilarious. And Parviz Sayad truly is a legend. It's a real shame that it can't capitalize on it further, at least in Western.
He's a victim of circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, limited.
It really is.
Absolutely. But yeah, those two definitely. The Naked Gun is just one of many, but Doijo Napolon, I'll go to that one every time. Absolutely, it's fucking beautiful. Yeah,
very nice. Favorite Iranian dish?
Chola kebab.
Yeah,
it's very cliche.
It holds up. Holds up.
Never fails.
All right.
It always holds up. And salad shirazi. Can I add that to it? A little bit,
Yeah.
I prefer my salad shirazi with lubia polo, but all good.
Lubia. Oh man, lubia polos.
Okay.
Some musmus here.
So staying the food. Karafs or ghorme sabzi?
Ghorme sabzi.
Is karafs up there anywhere, or is it just
no?
It's in limbo.
Karafs, like it's like the juice and khoresh karafs. It could be pee for all. I can't stand cooked karafs.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. It just
the texture.
You're a man of culture.
I really am not, unfortunately.
He's outnumbered every time.
He's from the north of London. What do you?
Hey,
they don't like calves up there.
I give me raw kadafs all day long, or give me kadafs in soup or osh, but kadafs in khoresht, It just it has this pungentness to it that I can't get with it.
Okay.
I totally get it.
Kubide or bag?
Bag. But bag made at home is never as good as, for me, is never as good as bag that you make, which you get at the restaurant. But
it has to be at the restaurant. It has to be.
Kubide at home is always better at the restaurant. I feel like at the restaurant, it feels heavier. At home, it feels just like, at home it feels lighter.
Yes. What's your favorite? Yeah, I know you said Daija Napoleon, but what's your favorite old Iranian film?
Old Iranian film. So you're talking about old.
Like pre-revolution old.
Ooh. Man, I'll be honest, dude. I kind of don't remember the name, but it's okay. They're all in.
It's the one where Fagin is poor and he finds a girl and they get married. Is that the one?
I don't.
That's all of them, by the way.
Is that Behruz? Is Behruz Vuzuri?
Him too, yeah.
Like a bunch of the movies he was in. Like what is one? God, something Mamali or like something Mamale or something. Oh man,
be careful.
I'm ashamed. No. I appreciate that. We got close, but not. I'm embarrassed to say I don't remember the names because it was just so. I'm really more learning about them now. But Behruz Vuzuri is fucking awesome. He was kind of like I don't know, how would you say, like the Charles Bronson?
That's specifically how
it was
people describe him. Yes.
And he was married to Gugush for a while, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So really, some of his top films, I guess, is the films that have. I'm still very embarrassed that I can't remember a single one. I couldn't remember the gentleman that was my co-star.
It's all right, man. You have a lot going on. There's a whole pandemic happening.
Brain
There's
fart.
racial injustice. There's Iranian injustice. I mean,
you gotta have to wait a little bit.
2020 has been tough. What can I say?
I got two more rapid fires for you.
Absolutely, please go ahead.
I got this one. This one you should be able to answer. Favorite stand-up comedian? I'm gonna give you two options.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Rock or Eddie Murphy?
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock. Okay.
Eddie Murphy is a hilarious actor. I was never a huge fan of his stand-up. Chris Rock is the opposite. He's not the greatest actor, but I love his stand-up. But both of them are legends, and I like.
Was Robin Williams the best of both worlds?
Robin Williams is another person that I wasn't like hugely enamored with his stand-up. It was a little manic for my taste.
It was
but
quirky.
His acting is just, I mean, very few people can do comedy and drama the way he could. And I mean, the bless his soul, the day we lost him, honestly, it felt like all of LA was mourning. We were all.
I'm sure, yeah.
He is just, but everybody you just named right now, like I have the highest level of admiration for. Absolutely.
So guys, should I ask him the question that I haven't asked in a few months?
Oh my God, please don't. Please.
Go ahead.
Let's do it.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh my God.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Don't put much thought into it. Don't give him that.
I think I'm going to have to say yes. The hot dog, at the very least, the hot dog is a type of sandwich.
Oh my God.
There is two things on top of one type of thing. Yes.
Something between bread is his argument.
Or even like lettuce. Like if you have a lettuce wrap, that's kind of, is that a sandwich or is that a wrap?
It's
a wrap.
Lettuce wrap.
Lettuce wrap.
No.
I don't call it a sandwich.
Yeah. I would still have to say a hot dog is a sandwich, because in Iran, if you were like, hey, I want a hot dog, they'll say
Sandwich or hot dog?
Sausage sandwich. Like, like, so.
See?
Yeah.
No. A hot dog is a hot dog. It's its own category. But go look at menus. When you go look at menus somewhere.
But
don't put hot dog on the sandwich.
If we go to Iran and we're trying to explain to someone that a hot dog is its own thing, how would we tell them that? Like, how would we explain to somebody that, like...
Okay, Iran is different, though. Here, usually when you go somewhere and they have different types of I cannot believe we're talking about this again. This is like the 10th time Arash has made us talk about this. But when you go somewhere and you go to a restaurant or somewhere that has different types of hot dogs, you see hot dog as its own thing, its own category.
This little header has hot dogs.
Yes, and then they have the different types of hot dogs.
In this country, you're right. You'll never hear like, we have hot dogs and other sandwiches. Like it will be like hot dog sandwiches. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Thank you.
Just like a burger is not considered a sandwich.
So I was right.
No, there's different ways to look at it.
Depending which side of the world you're at.
All right.
Yeah.
So now that we decided that a hot dog is a sandwich.
Not.
Peter, you have a news challenge for us.
I do have a challenge for you lovely folks. So all the crazy stuff that's been going on in this country, everything with that Trump's done, everything that with these migrant children separated from their families. The ACLU is such a great organization because they're sort of a blanket organization that helps all these different things. And I would love you all to, if you have time and the resources, to donate a little something to the ACLU. I wouldn't say it doesn't even have to be super specific. Just donating to the ACLU will go to wherever they feel like they need to funnel their money in at the time. You can also, if you go online and sign up to be a donor, what you can do is specifically put the reason you are donating and where you would like to mostly see your particular money allocated. And they're really great with that. And they're just a fantastic organization, and they've done so much in this country for anything from immigrants, migrants, to people who have to do with Islamophobia, to bigotry,
fighting social injustices.
Fighting social injustices, absolutely. Fighting anti-Semitism. Just so they're a fantastic organization. And if listeners are listening, and if you have the means to donate, please donate. And if you don't have the means to donate, contact your local ACLU office, and you could maybe find ways to donate your time. Obviously, under COVID, just do in a healthy, safe way. But it's a fantastic organization that's been around for a long time and has really nothing but a history of helping people who need it. And I really can't say enough about them. So I hope you guys
absolutely
could, help out a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate it.
And even those who don't have the means to donate, sharing even a post
goes a long
way, because your followers, somebody from your followers could have the means to donate and do that. So we will definitely share all the information for ACLU and the migrant.
Great cause. Thank you, Peter.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank
Peter, thank you so much for joining us. We know you're a busy Hollywood actor. And
Mr. Esfahani is booked and busy
Mr.
always.
Esfahani,
yes.
We appreciate you. I know we went a little bit long today, but I think
no, it's been a joy. Thank you.
I think we got a lot of good perspective from you on how Hollywood works in general, and for Iranians and Middle Easterners in general. So to our listeners, make sure you follow Peter at pbani at pbani on Instagram. So how does that work? I'm not a social media guy. I'm sorry.
It's at PBANI at Instagram. Check me out. And
check out his videos. It's freaking hilarious.
So good.
And then of course with us, follow us at Monday Noosh, Instagram, Twitter. I don't think we have. Is our Facebook up and running or
no? But that will happen soon. But for now, Instagram and Twitter.
And then we're also on all forms of on all podcast platforms and also YouTube. So please follow, subscribe. We really appreciate everybody supporting us and allowing us to get Peter and all of our other wonderful guests over the last few months. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy your week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you. It's such an honor. Thank you.